As the Saints prepare for their final preseason game tomorrow against the Denver Broncos. Welcome back, Sean Payton. Just come on and stick around. Just kidding. We take a look at the two trades that the Saints made this week for two backups, center Luke Fortner and wide receiver Devaughn Vele. Were the prices too much? Judging by the comments, y'all hate everything. I remember when y'all used to love everything. Now you hate everything. Anyway, we'll get into that. Does the fact that Spencer Rattler is starting preseason game 3, does that mean he's jumped ahead in the quarterback 1 race that should have been settled by now? And I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. We'll talk about that. It's Friday, so that means Zach Ewing is here. Gabe is itching to talk about college football and tell me how I'm wrong about everything. Can't wait for that. Maybe we'll have some, we haven't had a lot of fun with Gabe. I mean, it's just we're agreeing too much. Maybe we'll disagree today. Who knows? He's itching to talk about whatever he wants to talk about. So let's begin. I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the Dattitude podcast.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
I am going to be feisty today. Where you at, Dattitude family? It is going to be a lot of fun, I think. Who knows? Maybe it won't be fun at all. Maybe I'll just be ready to just say, you know what? I need some more blood pressure medicine. Where is it? Who knows? We'll find out what we'll have today. We're going to have some fun, one way or the other. We are just 1 or 2 days away, maybe 3 days away. Who knows? Soon, you would think, from finding out who the Saints starting quarterback will be on September the 7th. That's right, boys and girls. Will it be Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck? I don't know. Does it matter? I mean, does it really matter? Grand scheme of things. Does the fact that Spencer Rattler is starting game number 3 of the preseason, does that give him an advantage over Tyler Shuck? I have my thoughts. We'll talk about it. I'll tell you about what the boy wonder, my son, had to say. Boy, he was texting me all kinds of stuff. Boy, he just wants Spencer Rattler to win so I can go and throw some egg on my face. You know, people forget. They don't listen. They don't listen to what I really said. Anyway, we'll get into that. I'm jumping ahead of myself because that's not even the main topic today. The main topic of the day is going to be the trade stuff because I want to talk about these two things. I saw some just crazy comments throughout the course of the week. I wasn't really going to make a lead out of it until I saw some comments last night. I'm just like, you know what? Let's just do that. I'm sick of the same old show anyway, so we're going to change it up a little bit. We'll talk about that, of course, later this morning. Everything. We got college football week 0. We got Gabe Henderson telling me how right or wrong I was about my over-unders. This week was the NFC and AFC North. I had fun with those. These are my favorites so far because I think if I weren't a Saint, if I weren't so wrapped up in the NFC South, I think I would pay most attention. If I were just an NFL fan, I think most of my attention would go towards both Norths, the NFC and AFC North. I think they're the best divisions in football. I think you can almost flip a coin. The AFC West is pretty good, but we'll discuss that later on. Got some over-unders. I've been trying to balance it out. I'm trying not to have too many overs, but then I don't want to be Derry down and have too many unders. I noticed I've had a lot of unders last week. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. All sorts of things to get to in this final preseason game day eve. But yet, it's just the start of Dattitude, episode number 406, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, August the 22nd, 2025. If you're new here, well, first off, we say welcome. And I am your host, Jim Derry, 35 years in the New Orleans sports media scene. We thank you for being a part of the Datt family. In fact, the first thing I ever wrote for the Times-Picayune, that anniversary is coming up. I'm a weirdo when it comes to, I'm a weirdo about a lot of things, but when it comes to dates, I know the date. I don't remember much else. First thing I ever wrote for the Times-Picayune, August 31st, 1990. It was a Bell Chase football game. I have no idea. I don't remember. It was so important of a game. I don't remember who won. I don't remember who they played. Bell Chase played. I just remember walking up to Bell Chase Field, nervous as hell, with a notepad in my hand. We didn't bring computers to the games like we do now. There was no such thing as iPads. There was a notepad. You brought a notepad to a game and you kept stats, and it was the first time I ever did it. And I was nervous as hell, and I probably wrote 40 words, and it felt like today writing 1,000. So I remember I would, there were a couple things I would write where I'd write like 4 paragraphs, and I'm like, I don't know what else I can say about this game. That's how it was. August 31st, 1990. What I do remember is I remember the next day on September the 1st, 1990, I had just turned 22 years old. I remember staring at my byline for like an hour. I don't even think I read the story. I just my name's in the paper. And it's because I wrote something. I just thought it was the coolest thing. The things we take for granted afterwards. I should still do that, right? That wears off. A lot of things wear off. Anyway, back to the show. What wears off? You do 406 of these, you'll see what wears off. Your brain wears off. You know what's special about our show today and every day? Well, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. When we're live, you can be a part of it. You type in your comment. We'll show it at some point. We'll talk to you. You'll talk to us. We'll talk back to you, tell you what we think. Sometimes, we agree with you. Sometimes we don't. But you're a part of the Dat family. You have the right to speak your mind. That's what we want you to do. And if you're listening after the fact and we're not live anymore, you can still get in touch with me on X at Jim Derry Jr. or via email, jderry@theadvocate.com. And if you haven't already done so, you know the routine. Please subscribe to the Dattitude YouTube page. We've had a good few weeks. We've had a lot of new subscribers. We thank all the new people for being a part of the family. Some of it is because we're doing these NFL previews. We've only got one more week left. We have done 6 of 8 divisions. If you haven't noticed, we're doing them as shorts. I release them every morning and afternoon. Next week, it's your favorite. It's the AFC South. It's the NFC South. Can't wait to get to this. See, Gabe's favorite division, my favorite division. We're all getting to it next week. Can't wait for next Friday's show. And speaking of next Friday's show, which is going to be a birthday edition of the Dattitude podcast, a certain host is turning 39, baby. Or something like that. I can say I'm turning one. My wife's been saying she's 29 for the last 18 years. I can say I'm 39. Whatever it is, next week is a birthday edition of Dat. We hope you are here. And it'll be, it'll be our preview edition. Remember how we used to do the previews, like a bunch of them? No, now we're doing them in one episode, maybe 2. Who knows? Because UBN can't be here next week. So we'll kind of cram his into the show before, September the 5th. UBN will be here for the first time this season. September the 3rd, Mike Detillier will be here. So maybe it'll just kick off a week of previews. Who knows? We're going to have fun. Gabe will be here. Zach will be here next week. And we'll talk about, I will give you my official prediction for what I think is going to happen with the New Orleans Saints. I will give you my official record. That's coming up next Friday. Today, we'll probably talk a little college football week 0 too. Let's see what else we got. Also, before I get to anything else, speaking of birthdays, Jim Derry Jr.'s birthday is next Friday. Jim Derry Sr.'s heavenly birthday. My dad, as most of you know, passed away a year and a half ago. Today would have been his 83rd birthday. And so we say happy birthday up there to Jim Derry Sr. Happy birthday, Dad. We miss you. This show is dedicated to you. We'll have some fun today. All right, let's get, you know what? There's something I want to talk about before Zach comes on. So before I do all that, I want to get to a few comments. I usually wait. We don't have as many comments as usual this morning here on a Friday morning. So get in there, comment. If you haven't commented yet, we want you to. We want you to be a part of the show. Charles Mangus, good morning. Happy Friday. We got a big body receiver at what cost? You'll be in Lake Charles? Well, we hope everything's okay. And we'll see you Monday for sure. Going to get to it. I'm going to give you my thoughts on it in just a minute. I may or may not get to just my thoughts before Zach Ewing comes on the show. Yeah, why am I drinking out of a Texas A&M cup, by the way? Because I wanted a big cup, and it was the closest one to the front, and it was clean. That's why I'm drinking out of a Texas A&M cup. Sorry, everybody. And I'm going to piss people off. He's drinking out of a Texas A&M cup. In honor of, and Gabe Henderson's giving a thumbs down. In honor of, I don't know, Edgerrin Cooper. You know? Gabe Henderson says, I started, August 31st is your birthday? Okay, well, we're going to have just a birthday weekend. My first story written at the Times-Picayune, August 31st, 1990, was exactly 8 years before Gabe Henderson was born. Nah, I'm not old. I don't feel old. Never feel old. By the way, I'll notice this thing's getting a little bit better. I don't look like John Merrick anymore. I just look deformed. It's getting better. Getting better. Good morning, Northern Saint. I'm not 100% sure what your comment means. I'm just going to say hello to you. Gary, good morning. Brian Esteve, good morning. You believe, see, I don't think, we're not going to find one person that's going to like the trade for Vele. I haven't found one yet. I believe we overpaid for Vele, especially when you consider what George Pickens and DK Metcalf were traded for this year. You're comparing apples to elephant nuts. What happens in the offseason is completely different. We'll get to that. I'm getting ahead of myself. Also, Brian says at this point on our draft picks going to be more valuable. We are rebuilding. I'm going to get to that too. I have a little stat for you about 4th round draft picks. It's going to be one of those who gives a bleep 4th round draft picks. Got some stats for you coming up. Ron Hendrickson. Good morning. Glad to see the arrival. See, all right, there's one that I think is for it. Glad to see the arrival of a big body receiver. To me, that was a glaring weakness. Absolutely. Make it work, Kellen Moore. Rainy Cajun, what's up? I'm sorry I don't have your gift done. Rainy Cajun gave us the first gift ever received here on Dattitude. I don't have it prepared to show you today. I've been running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I literally finished everything, and I didn't even get to the NFL preview slides that I wanted to get to. So we're missing 2 slides this morning because I ran out of time. So it is what it is. But Rainy Cajun, we will have that on the show on Monday. Chad Gage, hello from Austin. About to go see Jerry Cantrell of Allison Change tomorrow. That ain't. I know y'all think because Phil is my brother-in-law. That ain't my bag, my friend. It just ain't. I try. I mean, it's just not my bag. I'm more of a 80s, 90s pop / contemporary / soul chart kind of guy. That ain't my bag. But I'm glad it's yours. Who dat, Daddy? Good morning. Jim and family, the QB1. Speaking of getting ahead of yourself. Yeah, I got verklempt on that one. I need to go to the water. Damn, I'm like halfway through the water. I better slow down. Ray Ibarra is here. Good morning. Fighting Mexican hyenas over your father's estate. I'm not really sure what that means. Are there such a thing as Mexican? And is that some kind of term? I don't understand what it means. Gabe might have to go look that one up on the Google machine for me. Tell me what it means. He thinks Shuck starts game 1. Lance Dobard. Good morning. Who dat, baby? Lewis Jacobson. Does it really matter about the O-line and running the ball and playing great defense? The facetious comment of the morning. Oh, yeah, and staying healthy. No, it doesn't matter. Who needs an O-line? Who needs big-bodied receiver? Just let them all be 5'11", 5'8", 5'9". Who cares? Doesn't matter. Apathy. I'll wait to the end of the season to judge the Broncos trade. Everybody complained about the big-bodied receiver. Now they've addressed it. They've only hit on 2 4th-rounders since 2016. You want to know why they've only hit on? No, it's not because Mickey Loomis sucks. No one hardly hits on 4th-rounders. I'm going to get this. I'm saving the stat. You got to stick around for the stat. There is a stat which proves that if you think this is a terrible trade, in the end, it's going to be, who gives a damn? Okay? It's something the Saints needed. As you could see, I'm on the side of, actually, I think it was a good trade. Get there in a minute. All right, Zach's going to come on. I got to run through some of these. I'm going to get back to comments in just a minute. Sandra Redmond, go Tigers. Welcome. Demetrius James is making a prediction 6-11 already. Okay. I think 6. Some people would take 6-11, right? If you offered 6-11, I think there are a lot of Saints fans who would take that right now. Big Easy Mafia, I think you're right. I honestly think it's going to be back and forth between quarterbacks all season. I kind of agree with you. I've said this multiple times. I don't think it necessarily matters who starts game one. I think that they're both going to have, I'm going to put the over-under on at 5.5 starts. They both have a minimum of 5.5 starts. That's my over-under. I'm gonna present that to Zach later. I gave him some over-unders last week. They'll just make them up this week. Daryl Hayden, good morning. Most anticipated third preseason game in Saints history. Maybe. Not for me, it's not. I don't really care. I mean, I'll have to watch it. I normally am there. I will not be able to be there tomorrow. I got some other things going on, so I will not be able to be at the Dome tomorrow. Ray says 5-12. Who Dat Daddy says happy heavenly birthday to my dad. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Tom Trice is here. Another fun Friday, he says. Who Dat? Sean says, and again, I know I'm skipping over some comments, but I get Zach's already in the green room. We got to get going. If Rat starts the season, how many weeks does he survive? I mean, you can ask the same question for Tyler Shuck. Gabe says 4. I've been saying this. If Rattler starts game one, I know I'm repeating myself, but not everyone has been here for all these shows. If Spencer Rattler starts game one, I truly believe it would be because that Kellen Moore is a realist, knows this team has a very good chance of going 0-4, and doesn't want to throw his 40th pick of the draft to the Wolves because you can't take it back. If you throw him out, because I think they're going 0-4 no matter who starts at quarterback in week one. That's my opinion. If I'm wrong, great. That means that it's better than 0-4. It's feeling good. I mean, even 1-3 start, you probably wouldn't feel that bad, unless they just look terrible. But if they start 0-4, you can't take it back, and that hurts confidence to whoever it is. Ray Steyer, good morning. First Sunday of college football, week 0. We're going to be talking about week 0 a little bit. We are definitely going to be talking about week 0. Okay. Good morning, Noah Man. Welcome. Glad you're here. Glad everybody's here this morning. Before I get to Zach and the rest of the show, there is something I want to talk about this morning. I'm just going to talk about it with Zach in just a minute. But before we do that, we got to get to business because I got to tell you about my friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they're a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, they can figure out what that business is worth. That's you or someone you know. It's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices, either on Pointer Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you decide it's time to proceed. Nick and Ron have never had trouble finding, they have never had trouble finding out who their number one was, who their quarterback one was. They're their own quarterback one. They deal in reality. We can fill you in more later in the show. In the meantime, you can check them out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Okay, I'm going to bring in Zach. And you know what? I'm going to leave in my lead slide on here for a minute because, Zach Ewing, there's something I want to talk to you about this morning because I know you and I think the same about conspiracy theories. We have the same thought process. They're bull dinky.
Can't wait to hear what this is about.
All right. So I was reading through the social media channels yesterday night and into this morning. Spent a lot of time this morning reading about. Apparently, Eric Dickerson was out there talking about how Shedeur Sanders, it was told the NFL teams, all 32 of them, they were told, do not draft Shedeur Sanders. To which I respond, that is the most ridiculous, well, not the most, I don't want to use too much hyperbole here, but that is one of the most ridiculous things I've at least heard in the past month, that NFL teams will be told, don't draft Shedeur Sanders by the National Football League. I mean, where did these theories come from, and why do people go on television and actually spout something they know is absolute horse hockey?
It's the same people who say that everything is scripted and then get mad when the script doesn't go their way.
NFL hates the Saints.
Like, if I am the general manager of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and I think Shedeur Sanders is going to help me be successful for said multi-billion-dollar franchise,
right,
and make me a lot of money and make me famous, and maybe put me in Canton, Ohio for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Do you think the NFL calling, "Oh, don't do this"?
Right. And change my team's record from 5-12 to 10-7. And we go from not having to make the playoffs the last 5 years to suddenly becoming the Washington Commanders. No, we don't.
I mean, why Shedeur Sanders? There have been other characters throughout the years who have been drafted. Johnny Manziel. I mean, and they get drafted because somebody took a chance on them. And we talked about it going into the draft, where it's like, okay, if the Titans are going to take Cam Ward first, and the Giants are not going to take Shedeur because they're, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, or whatever the conversation was at number 3, and the Saints don't want to take him at number 9, well, guess what? The next landing spot's the Pittsburgh Steelers. What were they, 21? And if they don't want him, he's going to fall. Now, he fell farther than anybody thought, but at some point, it became more about, do we want to put up with the circus for, a guy who may or may not even start for us? And finally, at some point, it got to be a little ridiculous, and the Browns finally stopped the slide. And I have to say, he was better in that first preseason game than I thought he would be. And I'm curious to see, they play tonight?
They play tonight or tomorrow?
Yeah, they play. Everybody plays by tomorrow, but I think they may play tonight. I'm curious to see, that's a preseason game. I'll watch the first quarter up to see how he looks.
I think it's tomorrow, but I'm not 100%. I think it's tomorrow.
I have to amend my, I think Shedeur Sanders won't. Yeah, he's going to start a couple games this year, I think. If you're the Browns, why wouldn't you?
Gabe says tomorrow at noon. Yeah.
It's the same time as the Saints. So yeah. I probably won't watch much of it, but I don't know. We'll see. I just don't. I don't buy into the whole collusion thing. It doesn't pass the sniff test.
No, and you know what? I do agree with you. I think he probably will start a game or two, but I think that at least 3 quarterbacks will probably start this season for the Cleveland Browns. Just like, I put an over-under, and we might as well get to it. I'll move, I'm going to come back to what our main topic is today. But if you want to talk, and I don't want to get into the Rattler Shuck thing just yet, but if I'm going to give you an over-under right now of 5.5, the minimum. Breaking news, by the way, Brian Robinson was traded to the 49ers. By the way, if you think the Vele deal, they gave up too much, Brian Robinson traded the 49ers for a 2026 6th-round pick. That has been rumored to happen for about 3 or 4 days now, and it did happen this morning. Gabe Henderson, thanks for the breaking news. Brian Henderson to the San Francisco 49ers, running back of the Commanders, now a member of the San Francisco 49ers. But if I put it in, gave you an over-under, and I gave you a bunch of them last week, I'm just going to give you one today. 5.5, that both Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler, over-under, they each start at least 5.5 games this year. Are you taking the over, or are you taking the under?
I got to go under.
You're going to go under?
And I'm just playing a math game.
Close, though, right?
For both have to start 6. That's almost half. They both have to. You could go 6-11, 7-10, or 8-9 would be your only possibilities there. Mm-hmm. I think it's more likely one guy gets 4 or 5 and the other gets 12 or 13. But we'll see. I'm at the point where I think
about the number. I think that would be about where you would put the number.
I assume we're going to talk about this. I'm at the point where I'm ready to say Spencer Rattler is the favorite.
We're going to get to that. You're jumping ahead of me because I do want to talk. The main thing I want to talk about this morning, I know a lot of people are jumping in here this morning. Good morning, S. Callie. We welcome you in. Preacher Man, I'm glad you're here. Demetrius James says no 4th for a Debo. Ike Yadam takes that away. I don't think that's true.
It has to do with how many snaps Isaac Yadam gets. I believe the number is if he gets 35% of snaps, he is then considered a premium free agent also. And so the Saints would have lost a premium free agent, but also gained one. They don't get the pick.
And unless, don't think that that doesn't come into play. When you want to talk about conspiracy theories, that's not a conspiracy theory. If that's close towards the end of the year and the Saints suck, I promise you he's probably not going to play because they will want that.
And the plan is for Quincy Riley to eventually take that spot anyway. So it's not like you can't say, well, hey, we're just giving the rookie a chance.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens with that. But I agree with you. If he's at 35% with 2 games to go, he's going to play in his last year.
Exactly. All right. So the Saints, I think there's an 70-80% chance that they will get that. It's just one of 2 fourth round picks. Again, if Paulson, the trade that the Saints made right now, they are scheduled to have a compensatory trade, which would be most likely a 4th round pick. But let's get to this trade, the 2 trades this week. First, I want to start with Luke Fortner, who was not for a pick. It was to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interestingly enough, the 2 trades the Saints made this week, one to the team they just played last week, the other to the team that they play this week, their old friend Sean Payton. But I want to start with the one with Jacksonville and the Luke Fortner, backup center. There's no question, Zach, that the Saints had, if they had too many at one position, it was probably interior defensive linemen. There have been arguments by some in the media and some fans that Colin Saunders was the best interior defensive lineman that the Saints had. I think they're all pretty much what and what, if you ask me. I'm going to say that I think both of these trades were about even. I don't think that the Saints got a great deal in either one, but I also don't think they got quote unquote fleeced like some people are saying. I'm going to start with Fortner. What do you think about that one?
No, I think it made a lot of sense. Like, I think if you could sit there and say, oh, given the just the pure value of each player, maybe Colin Saunders is a slightly better player than Luke Fortner. But when you look at the positional value for the Saints and you go, well, they've got a glut of defensive tackles, somebody was going to get cut. Colin Saunders, frankly, did not look comfortable in the 3-4 defense. He's not big enough to be a nose tackle. He wasn't kind of spry enough to be the 3 technique on the outside. So, like, he was kind of the odd man out. There was a chance he was going to get cut anyway. He always had more value than a guy who should have gotten cut. So a trade made a lot of sense. And then on the flip side, like, as much as everybody is, oh, look at Torricelli Simpkins, look at how great this undrafted free agent is doing. Well, do you really want an undrafted free agent who's never played a minute in a regular season NFL game to be your backup for Eric McCoy? I think this makes it so that Simpkins can move to guard and add to your depth there, which you need. And it allows you to have a guy with experience be your backup center. Now, if Eric McCoy gets hurt again for a lengthy period of time like he did last year, you're in trouble regardless. Like, I don't, but at least you have a responsible adult to play center who's played center in the NFL before. So I think it was a good trade. And I think Colin Saunders, he may be one of those guys who has a little bit of a renaissance in Jacksonville because they're a 4-3. He may go back to being and there are going to be those moments where Saints fans go, how do we get rid of this guy? But it's not that simple.
Right. It is way more complicated than that. And look, we hope Colin Saunders goes to Jacksonville and does play well, because I love the way that he left. And I like a lot of players who come here. We talk about the formula to play for the Saints. The Saints have this you have to be of a certain character. And I love the way that Colin Saunders left and gave just a big shout out and love to the Who Dat Nation when he left. And if you haven't seen it, go find it on X. I thought it was fantastic. The Saints showed him love back for sure. And he will be missed. I mean, he was a personality that I thought fit in well here, and he will be missed. But it's one of those trades where you hope it just works out for both teams, because it is something that the Saints need. They need a backup center more than they need a defensive tackle right now. And as you said, I'm not sure that this defense was for him. Real quick, Daryl Hayden, you're going back to something I said in the open. Happy birthday to my dad. Thank you. I appreciate that up there. And then Cool in the Gang, Earth, Wind, and Fire, and the Gap Band. Who I got? Well, let me just tell you, I'll put it this way. I wore out, and I mean wore out. Zach Ewing doesn't even know what a cassette is, but I wore out.
Come on, I'm not that young.
Cool in the Gang, In the Heart cassette, to where it was like I had to spinning, or you have to stick the pencil in there and spin it
Yeah,
around.
and wind it up, or you could do it with your pinky finger when you were a kid because it was small enough to get in there.
So,
But,
exactly, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, I know. I'm not that young.
Did you make mixtapes?
I did. I did that on CDs as well. I would be the CD burner guy in my dorm room.
I started to become one, and then by the time I figured out how to burn a CD, they kind of went out.
Yeah, in fact, my mom sent me a picture. She found I burned her a Johnny Cash CD for her birthday one year.
Really?
And I didn't even remember doing it, but I had written the songs on there. It was in my handwriting, so obviously I did it.
All right. Well, there you go. You're going to Folsom Prison one of these days. All right, let's talk about Devaughn Vele and the wide receiver. Now, this is the one that got way more controversy. As we were talking about the trade for Vele to the Denver Broncos, and I love the whole, why did Sean Payton get rid of him then? Give me a break. I mean, teams got to make moves. Maybe they thought they were, they had a plethora of wide receivers. You know what the Saints didn't have before they made this trade? They didn't have a 6'5" receiver, a big-bodied guy who go across the middle, and now they have one. You're talking about a fourth-round pick. I got some stats for fourth rounders. I promised them I'm going to get to it in a minute, but I know I'm in the super minority when it comes among people who follow this team. Most people think this price was too high, but I mean, you're talking about a guy, and I don't remember exactly what the stats were. They're somewhere in like 45 catches for 450 yards or something along those lines. If you're telling me that's what you get out of a fourth rounder, then and I don't care about seventh rounder. Who cares? Seventh rounder is a body you put in camp 9 times out of 10. But you're telling me, and this guy was a seventh rounder, so he actually made something out of himself. But 45 catches for 450 yards. If you were to tell me that you could get that out of Vele this year, I would say give it to me in a heartbeat, and the trade is definitely worth it. By the way, it's 475 yards and 3 touchdowns. Thanks, Gabe.
I totally agree with you. I think if you knew you would get this type of production out of Devaughn Vele this year, I understand it's a high price to pay. It was a high price to pay. I was a little surprised at the price. A fourth and a seventh in 2027. You don't see guys go for multiple draft picks usually, including a fourth. And I think a lot of people are like, Devaughn, who? How do you say his name? It's Vele, by the way.
Vele, not Vele. Vele.
But you like Vaylay. Is the Saints sent out a pronunciation, Vele. But I went and looked, and I think there's a couple things you need to understand about why the Saints made this deal. And one is obviously it's a missing piece to their offense, right? They needed a guy like this. The other thing is, if they had used their fourth round pick, I think they had 2 fourth-round picks. No, they had 2 third-round picks. If they had used their fourth-round pick this year on a 6'5" wide receiver from Utah, everybody would have been like, okay, hope he turns into something. They needed that. And if he had 475 yards and 3 touchdowns as a rookie, everyone would look at that as a great fourth-round pick.
Absolutely.
Now, as it turns out, Devaughn Vele was actually drafted in the 7th round, so he costs even now. It's not a huge difference at this point, just a couple $100,000, but he actually costs less than a 4th-round pick would cost you. And the only difference is you only get him for 3 years before he's going to be a free agent instead of 4. So, and that's not nothing. I mean, I'm not saying it's not, but I think to sit here and say, oh, a 4th-round pick is too much. If you got him out of a 4th-round pick last year, you'd be ecstatic. You would look at him as one of the building blocks of this team. And so to me, you pay that price. And like, look, part of the reason the price was high is because the Broncos did not want to get rid of him. They were holding out. And I think I saw the quote Peyton said to his GM, like, if we get a 4th rounder, we'll have to say yes. But, there was a little bit of a bidding war, and finally the Saints won it. And I don't know, like, if the guys that I looked this up, Jim, okay? Rookie receiving leaders last year. Okay, Devaughn Vele was 11th. Can I read you the top 10?
Yeah, sure. Please.
I'll go quick. Brian Thomas, 1st rounder. Malik Neighbors, top 10 pick. Brock Bowers, 1st rounder. Ladd McConkey, 2nd rounder. Marvin Harrison Jr., top 10 pick. Rome Odunze, top 10 pick or 11th pick, 1st round pick. Xavier Worthy, end of the 1st round. Keon Coleman, 2nd round pick. Xavier Legette, 1st round pick. Then you get into Jalen Coker was an undrafted free agent for the Panthers. He was 10th, 3 yards.
I lost your sound.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just had like Zoom start on my computer randomly. I think it stole my mic. So 10th was Jalen Coker. He was an undrafted free agent. He beat out Devaughn Vele by 3 yards. So every guy in front of Devaughn Vele in last year's rookie class, which was a dynamite rookie class of receivers,
It was.
every single guy was either a first or second rounder, except for Jalen Coker, who beat Vele out by 3 yards. So to me, this is a home run pick. I like a home run trade. Like, I don't. Could the fourth rounder be something? I know you have some stats on what fourth rounders do.
Yep.
Yeah, like and we're talking about a fourth rounder. If the Saints season goes the way we think, it's going to be more like 100. It's not going to be 125 or 135. It's going to be like 100. So it's a top 100 pick. That's a heavy price to pay. But if this guy continues the projection that he was on as a rookie, and now he's a 500, 600, 700 yard receiver who you get for less than $1 million a year, that is way more valuable than the number 100 pick.
Absolutely agree. We got quite a few comments in the queue that I want to get to, but I want to finish this conversation on Vele. I'm sorry, Vele. Before we move on, and I will say this about fourth round picks. Here's the deal, and look, you compare them. Well, Dallas got this, and this team got this, and blah blah blah. Again, trades made in the offseason are not the same as trades made once you get started. It's more of a need thing. Should the Saints have made a trade earlier and tried to get George Pickens or try to get whatever else? Sure. I mean, the grand scheme of things, they probably they should have drafted a wide receiver in this draft. There's no question. I mean, I said this a bunch of times when we were doing the live show and talking about it after the week after and the 2 weeks after. They should have drafted a receiver. However, they didn't. And I mean, not necessarily trying to make up for it, but fourth round picks, Zach, how many of them make the team without looking? Approximately, it's hard to do because you can go back a year or 5 years, but over the recent history, approximately how many fourth rounders do you think make an NFL team? Again, this is an approximate number because you could cut it down to.
They just have to make. You're just saying make the initial.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you roster? How many of them start over the last couple of years.
Oh, how many start? Okay.
No. First, I'm asking you how many make the team.
I mean, I think most of them at least make the initial 53. A fourth round pick is pretty high to give up on. I'm going to go upwards of 80% make the team.
Cut that in half.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, it's like 42%. And how many do you think start at least their rookie year? So this is kind of misleading because you could say maybe a fourth round pick, 3 years from now may start. So this is a little bit misleading. But how often do you think a fourth round pick starts his rookie season, at least as of late?
Now that's going to be a lot lower. I'm going to go 15%.
You're close. It's 11%. So, I mean, my point is, are fourth round picks valuable? Yeah, they're valuable because just because a guy gets cut, they can end up making the practice squad, by the way. They clear waivers, they go to the practice squad, or someone else picks them up and puts them on the practice squad. They count as part of the 58% who got cut. I mean, they don't make a team. If you're on a practice squad, you didn't technically make a team. And they could get called up later on. So that's all factored in. My point is, when you're talking about a fourth round pick, is it important? Sure, it's important. Do you want it? Sure, you're not going to just give it away. But you're talking about a guy in this case, again, you're talking about 11th among rookie receivers, but I just think the numbers themselves, if he wasn't a rookie, and I get that he's a little bit older than most rookies, he's going to be 27 this year, but 45 catches for 470 whatever yards and 3 touchdowns, to me, that is worth a fourth round pick.
Oh, yeah. Jalen McMillan, by the way, was next. Jalen McMillan was the next on that list of rookie receivers. Last year, he had 461 yards, and he was a third round pick. And people laud the Bucs for hitting, really hitting on that third round pick. If the Saints had traded for Jalen McMillan, I think people would have been, oh my gosh, that guy's really well. Devaughn Vele, I don't know how many people were paying attention to the Broncos' third receiver, but he was actually the last half of last year, he was really good.
And the whole thing of if Sean Payton wants to trade him, he must be getting over on you. No, maybe Sean Payton just says, I was going to keep him or I wasn't going to keep him. He was going to be our 5th receiver, our 6th receiver. And you know what? We'll just get some picks for him. And that's what the value was.
Right. So. They got a very deep receiver room. The other thing that I'll throw out there, Jim, is that I know I've seen some comments on Twitter and stuff, people saying, well, look, the DK Metcalf only drew this pick and Devontae Adams only got traded for this pick. Let me just, Devaughn Vele's cap hit in 2025, $960,000, less than $1 million. Next year, it's 1.07 million. 2027, it's 1.19 million, and then he'll be a free agent in 2028. Okay. Devontae Adams, cap hit this year, $12 million. Next year, $28 million. Then he's a free agent.
What about
DK
DK
Metcalf?
Yeah.
This year, $11 million.
Jeez.
Next year, $31 million.
Which the Saints don't have, by the way.
Yeah.
They do right now, but they don't next year.
Then I believe there's a potential out in his contract after that carries a dead cap hit. This is not, you're comparing apples and oranges. Like George Pickens, right? A cap hit of 3.6 million this year, and then he's a free agent. So he's only under contract for 1 year anyway. So that one's not big, but you'd only get him for 1 year. You get Devaughn Vele for at least 3. So
which people don't factor in when they make trades. It's just like they're talking about, I was hearing some things earlier, and this is a completely different topic. We'll get to Spencer Rattler in a minute, but Spencer Rattler isn't going to start. They should just trade him. Nobody wants him. I'm not trying to be mean, but nobody wants Spencer Rattler. I mean, everybody's got their own backup quarterbacks. I mean, that's both of these guys going to be backup quarterbacks. We'll get that in just a minute. There's a couple comments I want to get to before we start shifting gears here. But anyway, let it be known, August 22nd, 2025, Zach Ewing and I went like 19 minutes and completely agreed on everything. That needs to be marked down, and Gabe marked that down in the record books. That's almost as impressive as you and I agreeing on all these over-unders the past couple of weeks. All right, Adam Varner, good morning. Musette, I said it right this time. Her question is, when are the Saints going to address the O-line? How do they not see the glaring issues? I think they are trying to address the O-line. That's kind of what this whole Fortner thing is, right?
Yeah, I mean,
they need to do more. I mean, that's not the end of it. They do need to do more.
Okay, but here's the question: what do you want? There's not like a bunch of free agent O linemen out there.
Go to the O lineman store.
Because if the offensive lineman's really good, the team that drafted him locks him up, because that's what you need to do to win in the NFL. So what the Saints have done is said, well, we lost, all these guys retired or got hurt or whatever, and we lost Ryan Ramczyk and they let Andres Pete go, but all these guys got too expensive. All these guys got too expensive to keep at the same time, and or got injured and old. So Teron Armstead, in Miami. So what they did was they've drafted offensive linemen really high, including 2 top 15 picks the last 2 years to be your bookend tackles. So when you say they need to address the O-line, what else do you want them to do? I mean,
and Musette, I also think, and Zach, I think that when cutdown day comes on Tuesday, I think the Saints, one of their first pickups will probably be some offensive lineman that got cut that fits in here and is a good backup. I mean, the Saints aren't done with making moves for O linemen, but these 2 trades, I think they needed to make these trades. Fortner, would he have gotten cut? Probably not, but even if he did, I mean, the Saints trying to get him, I mean, you're better off making the trade. And same for Vele. I think even if he gets cut, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get him. So they jumped the shark, so to say.
Vele wasn't going to get cut. I mean, if the Broncos would have traded him somewhere if they weren't going to keep him. That guy's, you don't catch 500 yards receiving as a rookie and get cut.
I agree. Gerard, good morning. Thank you for being here. Sandra, and I'm not going to even try to pronounce your maiden name, I'm assuming, Poole. She burned a CD for her mom on Mother's Day, had all the songs that were written for mothers and made her cry. Great memory, Boys to Men. She cries every time. Do you cry at any of the CD mixes that you made?
No, but I remember one of the first gifts I gave to my now wife was a burned CD of songs that we both liked. So you definitely, that was like the move, man. In the early 2000s, that was game if you did that.
My wife doesn't. I mean, we're 10 years apart, unfortunately. We like some of the same music, but my music's a little bit too slow for my wife. Corey Terrio talking about 7th round picks. Unless you're Marcus Colston. Yeah, I mean,
Sean Payton compared Devaughn Vele to Marcus Colston. I mean, he's directly said that.
With Sean Payton and 7th round picks and receivers?
I don't know, man. But if he's anything like Marcus Colston, is anybody going to doubt this trade?
Will anyone bitch about it a year from now?
He
Probably
could be half
not.
of Marcus Colston, and it's a good trade.
Exactly. James, hey, welcome to the show. Kyle Sherman says, Vele is a need for the Saints. He was nice to have for Broncos since they already have a big bodied receiver. Traffic jam. And look, we didn't even really talk about this part, but look, there's no question. If you talk about maybe top 4 needs going into this week, there's no question in the top 4, you could talk about where you would put them, but big-bodied receiver was absolutely up there in the top 4. They just didn't have one. We've been talking for weeks. Who's going to be the big-bodied receiver? Who's going to be the go-to guy across the middle? And now I think, of course, you think about Jawan Johnson and whoever the backup tight end might be, or the second tight end, but you had to have a receiver that could do it, and now Vele is probably that guy. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have nothing to add. I'm looking at some of the comments, and I just
by
think,
the way, it's pronounced. Thank you, Sandra. It's pronounced in Chaustagi. Okay, in Chaustagi. Sandra,
just like it sounds, man.
Just like it reads. Are you a Spurs fan? Brian wants to know.
I am.
Okay,
I am. Come on, you Spurs.
Also,
I got this hat when I was in London this summer, so. I've actually been to a Spurs home game.
Oh, there you go. Before we move on to quarterbacks, so we'll say this. A lot of times you can judge a player by how the team that he's leaving, how their fans react. And when Fortner left, most of the things that I saw in X were they were thrilled to have him gone. Okay, so that's not a good thing. But, he started all 34 games his first 2 seasons last year, sat on the bench. However, Sean points out, Denver Sports Podcast host did not like the move of Vele. They felt his stats were as good as Mims in fewer games played. So, and up and coming.
I think he could be really good. Now, I said all this about his rookie year stats. The quarterback is kind of like that. Bo Nix grew as the year went on, and that could lead us into the discussion about the quarterback, right? Like the quarterback's got, but I think. Look, if you're going to start a young QB, whether it be Rattler or Shuck, having a guy like that as a security blanket is not a bad thing. On 3rd and 5, I'm just going to throw it up where my 6'5" receiver's got a chance at it and the other guy doesn't. Pretty safe move.
I agree. All right. That takes us to, you want to talk about beating dead horses. I mean, Rattler and Shuck, both, if they were horses, they'd be like laying on the ground, whimpering, not whinnying. They would be whimpering. Like, stop talking about me. I mean, it's got to get old to even them. I mean, I know they're in the middle of this race and they both want to be starters really bad, but don't you think, just put yourself in their shoes for a minute, don't you think that it's getting old even for them?
Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure both of them would have liked to have won the job already, but I think they're both also competitors and are willing to take this down to the bitter end. And like Kellen Moore said the other day, somebody asked him the benefit of naming a starting quarterback early, and his response was, "Well, y'all stop asking me questions about it." So that was the only benefit he could think of. But I mean,
he's not being truthful, by the way. But
I really think he probably is leaning one way. But I think it's close enough to where, and the way I think he's leaning, by the way, is Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler took more of the snaps in Wednesday's practice at the Dome, which I actually went to. It's one of the few practices I've made this preseason. He took more snaps in general. He took more snaps with the ones. He looked good. I think that Rattler is in the lead, and Kellen Moore would like to give Tyler Shuck a chance to catch up. And I think it's still close enough to where maybe that can happen. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We didn't get to see most of Tuesday and Thursday's practice, so it's hard to say what happened in there. But, I know the stats have been going around, like the stats from the 2 preseason games are almost dead even between the two guys. Rattler's been the better guy in practice, and we'll see what happens tomorrow. But I think he's got I'm like 70-30 Rattler right now.
It's practice. It's practice.
What else do you got to go on?
Not much, to be honest. No,
that's what
not much.
Coaches have been naming starters based on practice for decades. So
yeah, I don't know if they base it off. Well, maybe they do.
And they're not basing it off of 6 preseason quarters. Like, you gotta have something.
You know what I really think most of them are basing it off of? Their gut. Just like when you play poker. A lot of things you base off of gut. But Not that I want to compare football coaching to poker, but a lot of things that are similar. Anyway, you and I both play poker. We couldn't be football coaches. That's a whole different story. Do you take?
I would gamble a lot more than you.
Yeah, you definitely gamble more than me. That's saying something. All right. Do you take? And you kind of answered the question, but do you take anything out of Spencer Rattler starting this preseason finale, or are you just basing off of what you said? You know what we've seen in practice. And again, I don't. Anyone who wants to bring up practice stats, kiss my sweet patootie. Nobody's doing anything off of practice stats. Now they might do off of what the eye test they see in practice, but no one's going off of practice stats. Okay. So, but do you put any stock into him starting this preseason finale? I don't, but I know most people do.
Not a lot. I mean, there are 3 preseason games, so one of them had to start too.
Correct.
And so I guess maybe it's somewhat telling that he gets the chance. I think what will be more telling is, okay, the Saints, Kellen Moore kind of hinted at the fact that he may play more starters in this game, kind of give these guys a dress rehearsal, at least for a series or 2. We haven't seen a lot of starters, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. So will these guys get a chance to play? Maybe. And if that's the case, what is more telling to me is, does Spencer Rattler go out there with the top offensive line and the top receivers, maybe even Alvin Kamara plays for a series or 2. And then when Shuck comes in the game, it's all backups. Because that to me would tell me, like, unless Rattler is just a disaster, you have prepared him to be the starter. This is your dress rehearsal. And in your dress rehearsal, you don't give the understudy the lead role. Like you got to give it to the guy who's going to start for you in 2 weeks. So is it close enough to where it could still flip? Sure. But I think unless it's a situation where they're gonna flip and Rattler gets series number 1 and then Shuck gets series number 2, then the rest of the starters leave. Then Rattler gets a series with the backups and Shuck gets a series with the backups. If they do that, then that tells me that really is dead even. But
Zach, what I'll be looking at is not just who plays with Rattler. Is the play calling the same as it was in game 1? Because to me, it was so super. And I know you don't want to show too much. I get that. But I think they need, if it is going to be Spencer Rattler or whoever it's going to be, I think they need a dress rehearsal to go out there. And I think, I'm not saying you need to open the playbook, but I think we need to see something a little bit different. I think you and I would both agree that nothing that we've seen so far in the first 2 preseason games, as far as a play calling standpoint, there's nothing really too complex in there. It's pretty much what you would expect in a preseason. It's basically giving both of these quarterbacks chances to show off their skills or whatever, and not necessarily running plays. Maybe 15, 20% of the playbook is open. I want to see, are they going to open it up like 40 or 50%? Are they going to run this as a dress rehearsal? Because I don't really necessarily think they've done that so far.
I don't know. I mean, I can just tell you from practice, we see more plays in practice than what they've run in the preseason games. Like, I mean, it's not even close. So but that is one thing you don't want to give the Cardinals. You don't want to put any of this stuff on film. Could they run a little more variation and just kind of show a few different looks? I suppose so. But I think ultimately that's not what these QBs are going to be judged on. I think they're going to be judged on, how are you executing the basics? How is the offense getting in and out of the huddle? Are the play calls clear? Are there procedural penalties? And then are you making the right read within the play that's called? I think the rest of the stuff, if you can build that foundation, then when you do start calling more creative plays, all of that will follow in course. But if you can't lay that foundation, then we don't need to see that stuff anyway. It's not going to work. So I think that's really what they're being graded on at this point.
A couple things here from the comments. One, Michael Morgan, what has Rattler done more than Chuck? I'm not seeing any games. I'm not sure that he has done anything more than Chuck. You got to pick one, or do you?
At practice, he's been better in practice. And I know that you can roll your eyes at that. We're not talking necessarily about the stats, but I guarantee the coaches are looking at the film of practice. It has to factor into it. It's like 90% of what you have right now. So, that's what the answer is. I'm
telling you this, and again, this is completely just opinion that means jack squat. But what I've seen in games, and call it gut, call it hunch, call it whatever, First of all, I don't think either one of these guys is a long-term answer at quarterback. I've made my opinion clear on that, and I haven't changed it. If one of them proves me wrong in the regular season, great. But as far as what an NFL quarterback looks like, and what does that mean, Derry? You know what an NFL quarterback looks like. I just think that Chuck has more of a chance, looks more like an NFL quarterback. Does he need more time to get ready? Maybe. There's no question both of these guys are going to play. There's no question Chuck's going to start at some point. There's a 0.0 chance that Rattler is going to start 17 games. Okay, that's just what it is. I just think Chuck looks more like an NFL quarterback. Maybe it's his big body. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but it's just something that I've seen. An infantryman asked, will the Rattler fanboy stop the excuses of Rattler if he struggles again? And I mean, if you throw Rattler out there, here's another thing. And just as I'm concerned about if you were to start Chuck and they went 0-4, I mean, to me, if Spencer Rattler goes out there, Zach, and starts 4 games and the Saints start 0-4 and then they make a change and Spencer Rattler is 0-10 and a starter, I mean, I hate to say this, but I think the kid's done if they do that.
I don't totally disagree. It kind of depends on how they lose those games. Is he, is the defense just letting them down and they're losing, a bunch of 28-24 games and he looks fine? That's different than if he's really struggling and they go up to, like, I circled that Seattle game. I don't know, man.
God,
either one of these guys.
Remember the Green Bay game last year where he went 24-0? They lost 24-0 on, what was it, a Monday night?
Yeah,
I mean, right. That's kind of what that would probably end up being. That's what I would expect that to be. Whatever that line is, I'm taking Seattle on that. And right now it's 6.5.
Mike McDonald is, I mean, he is not the kind of guy you want your young quarterback to face.
No.
And it's also their first road game, and that we know how loud that place can get.
If they're 0-2 going into Seattle, that could be ugly. Yeah,
and then you got Buffalo after that in a really difficult travel spot. So I'm with you. I just think, it depends on how he would lose them. But you're right. If he goes 0-4 and that drops him to 0-10 as a starter, and then you move to Chuck, and Chuck has any kind of success at all, how is anybody going to say at that point, yeah, Spencer Rattler is the guy we needed there? I mean, he's 0-10 is 0-10.
I'm going to say this. If you're a Spencer Rattler fan and you truly believe in your heart that he is a potential NFL starter, you almost should want him to lose this race. I'm telling you, whoever starts these first 4 games, I think the other quarterback is probably going to get, realistically, the other quarterback is probably going to be in there maybe for game 5 against the Giants. I mean, I could be wrong, but it just seems realistic to me. I don't know.
I don't know if I totally agree with that if Chuck is the starter. I think they want to give Chuck a long tail audition here. If it's Rattler and they're 0-4, then yes, I think that Giants-Patriots homestand is as soft of a landing spot as you're going to get for Tyler Chuck to come in and get his first starts. I do think that's the time.
That's why it would make sense if they decide to go with Rattler. I really think that would be the reason, and not just because he won the job. I'm sorry, but there's nothing. I mean, you could tell me they look better in practice. That's writer's opinion that they look better in practice. We don't know what he's never going to tell us what the real reason is. What I've seen in 2 preseason games and maybe a 3rd preseason game will change my mind. There is nothing I've seen that has distinguished these two from one another. They're both, I mean, that's what I've seen so far. So far. Daryl Hayden wants to know, is it possible that Kellen Moore alternates quarterbacks by quarter against that? I mean, we can't have this. This can't last into the regular season, Zach.
Please no.
Yeah, for the love of Christ, whoever it is.
What do you do if, like, you start Rattler the first quarter and he's on a roll and he's on a nice drive? Second quarter, we've got to put Chuck in it. You can't do that.
No, you 100% can't do that.
1971 was a different time, man.
Yeah, and Rizzy did that when he started, which I thought was unfair, by the way. I mean, if you want to go back, and it ended up working out okay. The Saints almost came back and beat the Commanders, but you and I were in the dome for that game. But Jake Haener started that game and was terrible in the first half, and they put Rattler in the second half, and he just kind of ran free and actually played. I thought his best halves of the year were the first half against Tampa Bay and the second half when he came in for Haener against the Commanders, both at home. And great, but you can't do that.
No. I mean, I saw Gabe put in the studio chat here that, like, Ole Miss has done that, and I think there's been some college teams that have tried that, and I think in my memory, most of the time that's tried, it's because you're playing, Arkansas Pine Bluff, and you're like, well, we're going to beat them anyway, so let's give both guys a couple of quarters and alternate so that they get some time with the ones. You're not doing that in a game. You're trying to, you're actually worried about losing. I
Right.
would think.
Yeah, no, I agree. Lance wants to know, why are we scared of Seattle? The answer is not scared of Seattle, but Seattle is and if you don't see this, then you just don't want to see this. But Seattle is clearly a better football team going into this season than the New Orleans Saints. It's not close, and there's a reason why they're a touchdown. They're not. I'm sorry, they're not close.
I mean,
Seattle is a 9-8, 8-9 kind of team. The Saints are not even close to that.
The Saints could win that game. I'm not saying they can't, Lance. I'm not like there's no game that's Jim's famous 0.0 in the NFL. It doesn't exist.
That's true.
Anybody could win any game in the NFL. But if the Saints win
Survivor, will you pick Seattle and Survivor?
I might. I actually might.
Exactly.
The reason the way the Saints would have to win that game, they would have to get out to a lead. Their defense would have to play really well. I'm not sold on Sam Darnold. I agree with you. Their offensive line is not that good. Like, could the Saints defense have a very good day, muck that game up, commit to running the ball, and maybe you could win the game 13-10 or something? Like, that's how you have to win that game. You're not going to go have Spencer Rattler or Tyler Shuck go up there and throw for 3 touchdown passes and beat them 31-24. Right. I don't see that.
S. Callie says no alternating. Just pick one, because that's exhausting for everyone. Amen. You have to pick one. If you want to make a change later, that's fine. And look, if it's Spencer Rattler, if it's Tyler Shuck, whoever it is, you have to commit to whoever it is for a minimum of, I think, 2 to 3 games, unless it's just disaster. And then if you want to change after that, then fine. Kenny 504 is on the rat train, baby. Rattler, baby. Who dat daddy? I'm assuming when he says, Jim, I can hear, Jim, we don't know that. I'm assuming you're talking about me comparing the Saints to Seattle, or I'm not sure what you're comparing, but I am reasonably confident that Seattle will be multiple games better than the Saints when the season is said and done. And I can tell you right now, there is almost no question in my mind. I have multiple survivor picks. I can promise you that unless something drastic changes before week 3, that Seattle will be at least one of my survivor picks. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that, but I found it interesting you just sort of disagree with him. I don't know what you're saying, but I disagree with you.
Well, I mean, he's either talking about my Rattler Shuck comparison, or he's talking about the Seattle thing, because that's the only thing I talked about in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Rainy Cajun, please beat the feathers of the Seahawks. He's from living up that way. They're still talking about the Beast Quake up here. There's one game that I wish the Saints would win. It would be this one. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just being realistic.
Their chances of winning those first 4 games, it's almost like an inverse order. I think I don't know if the betting lines match this or not, but I would say Cardinals have the best chance, then Niners, then Seahawks, then Bills. If they go to 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, the chances of them starting 0-4 is like increases exponentially.
Oh, I think they have a better chance to beat the Seahawks than the 49ers. I think the 49ers are a realistic NFC champion possibility.
I think the 49ers have a very
rebound season.
Schedule, and so I think that they will be a playoff team. I don't know how good they're going to be. I don't know. I could see the 49ers being a number 1 seed in the NFC that I would love to bet against in the playoffs.
Well, that is a great transition, because before I let you go, and I've already kept you longer than I really want to, because I know you got a lot of other things to do. We don't need to have an hour-long segment every week, but it just kind of turned into that this week. I want to turn into a couple of things when you're talking about odds, and we're going to definitely spend some of our time each week talking about odds, talking about when we get in the NFL, we'll actually talk about game lines. I mean, this week, let it be known, put it on the record. As of now, this morning, the Broncos are a 3.5-point favorite in the Dome against the Saints. That has changed from when we were on the show Wednesday. It was 5.5. It was 3.5 to start. It went to 5.5 by Wednesday, and this morning, again, it's back to 3.5 because the Broncos have been pretty good in preseason. It is what it is, but actually might like the Saints in this game because they probably will play their starters a little longer, but
It went from 3.5 to 5.5, I presume, because last week Sean Payton said he would play his starters for 8 plays each. And then it went back because Kellen Moore hinted at playing his starters. I think I'd bet on the Saints.
If you bet on preseason, you know what I think. Call the number.
I don't trust their backups enough to really get this done, but I do think the Saints are going to keep their starters in longer. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about this NFC South odds. If you're listening after the fact and you can't see the graphic on the screen, we show this every now and then. I like to show when Zach's on because I like to show it at least once a week. I showed it one other day this week. Can't remember what day, but the Saints keep going up. Last week at this time, they were plus 1,400 to win the NFC South. I think either Monday or Wednesday, whenever I showed it last, they were plus 1,500. And now this morning, they're up to plus 1,600, 16-1 for the Saints to win the NFC South. You think that's partly because they haven't decided who their quarterback is yet?
Yeah, maybe. I just think they're probably asking for money. They're getting money on the other.
They're asking for money.
They're like, come on, somebody please come bet on the Saints, please. And they just haven't gotten that. For the love of
Christ, bet on the New Orleans Saints. No one will. The rest of the odds, the Bucks have crept up a little bit. They're from minus 110 to minus 115. The Falcons have actually moved more towards their odds have gone down, plus 225 now from like plus 250. The Panthers have gone up. They were plus 375 like 3 weeks ago. They went to plus 400 now. They're plus 450. So again, the book's asking for money on the Panthers. Looks like everybody's betting on the Bucks and Falcons. Not really that surprising.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know this is boring. The Bucks are clear favorites.
Yeah.
They do have a tougher schedule, especially early. And if my betting advice, wait until midseason when the Falcons and Bucks are like tied. Look at the Bucks finishing schedule. I mean, it is pillow soft.
Yeah.
It is pillow soft.
No, the Falcons' schedule at the end. Isn't their schedule tough at the end?
Well, the Falcons, I was looking at this. The Falcons actually they probably have a tougher start to the schedule than the Saints do. I mean, it is, holy moly, is it rough?
Let's see. Their schedule, I have it up here. They play Tampa Bay, then at Minnesota, at Carolina versus Washington. And I hate the week 5 bye is awful. I mean, that's the earliest week, I think. And then they play Buffalo at San Francisco. You ain't kidding, man. That is tough. And so the schedule's not super easy.
You may see a situation where this division looks totally jumbled in the first half, and then I think the Panthers, may be in it, but I think the Falcons and Bucks probably kind of pull away. The back half of their schedule is much easier.
I got to be honest, there's no value anywhere in this thing. I'm not betting any of this. Again, we're going to get into an NFC South preview time this week on the Dattitude podcast. If you, the way I've been doing it is I've been doing team by team previews, predicting their over/under win totals, and I can just tell you. And next week, Zach and I will predict division when I'm telling him this on the spot. We kind of talked about it a little bit, but we'll be predicting division winners for all 8 divisions. We'll make our playoff predictions and then our Super Bowl predictions. We'll do that next Friday here on the birthday edition of the Dattitude podcast. I can just tell you there's no value here. I wouldn't bet any of these things whatsoever, unless you just want for the hell of it to put $1 on the Saints and win 16. But
only team I would consider betting there is the Bucs, because I think they're clearly the best team, but at that price, I don't know that it's worth it.
I actually think there's going to be later, like you talked about with that schedule now, the Falcons could get to like plus 400 or something. I think later on there might be value on the Falcons, but not right now. I just wouldn't bet on any of this. All right, Saints win total. We've been kind of talking about this. There hasn't been a whole lot of movement except in one spot, Zach, and I think it's interesting. Over 6.5. I mean, you're talking about a couple months ago, it was over under 6.5. It was hot, it was closer to that. Then it was right on 5.5. And now it's really closer to 4.5. And it keeps moving more and more towards 4.5. The under 4.5, it's plus 115 now. It was like plus 145 just 2 weeks ago. It keeps moving more. So many people, whoever is making this line move, somebody's betting money on this. Lots of people are betting under 4.5 wins for the Saints.
It's crazy, right? Like at some point, you're going to get even money on over 4.5, which I'm not. At that point, I might be interested in over 4.5. I think, I won't give away my record prediction this week. I guess we're doing that next week too.
Yeah, we'll do it next Friday.
I think it's pretty close where it's at, and I don't, I'm certainly not
Run into the
gonna,
window?
yeah, I'm not running to the window to bet either way at this price. If when it was 6.5, I might have considered it. But I think we're right around, 4, 5, 6 wins somewhere in there.
I think you're right on. And we're going to have a lot of fun next week making our predictions. And by then, I would pray to God that we don't have to talk about debate on who it's going to be anymore. At this point, I kind of don't care who it is. Just pick one and let's move on. By this time next week, I am about 90% certain we'll know who the starting quarterback is for the New Orleans Saints.
This is like you're in a fast food place with your kids, and they're trying to decide what to get, and you're like originally kind of steering them toward, well, maybe don't get the stuff with all the sugar in it, or don't get the most expensive thing on the menu, or whatever. And then as they hem and you know what, just get whatever. I don't care.
Do whatever you want.
That's where we're at.
Or like, I don't know about you, but asking the wife, like, what do you want for dinner? I don't know. What about this place? Nope. What about this place? Nope. What about this place? No. Luckily, there's only real 2 possibilities here, so they got to pick one of the 2. So anyway, well, hopefully we know, and we will see you next week and get things rolling, because by next week we'll actually be talking kind of sort of about real football. Oh, real quick, week 0, real quick. What do you think about K-State and Iowa State and Dublin? Are you excited about this? You'll be in the Dome tomorrow.
I am, because it's real football that counts. I think it starts at 11, so we'll get to watch a quarter of it before the Saints kick off. I think it's a good game. Winner might be the Big 12 favorite, so that's cool. I'm going to pick K-State, but I don't know. I mean, college football, man, you think NFL prediction is hard. In the NIL era, we did on our LSU Insider yesterday, we did college football picks for the season.
Yeah.
I picked Alabama to win the national championship. Mostly just to be different, because nobody's picking. I'm going, well, Ty Simpson's good. They got everything else. I mean, they might just win it. So I picked Alabama. The other one I'm really cheering on Saturday tomorrow for the alma mater of Jake Hayner, Devontae Adams, and Derek Carr. Go Bulldogs, baby. Fresno State taking on the Dirty Birds from Kansas.
And you just pissed off. Now I'm going to lose that number of people watching live. That's going to drop like a stone because you just mentioned Derek Carr.
It's Kansas, man. It's probably more because I mentioned that stinky school from.
Oh yeah, no, it's not.
Lawrence, Kansas.
You hate Kansas. Doesn't mean everybody else does. Well, anyway, next week we get to talk about real football, and this is the only real football we can talk about. So I thought I would just bring it up. And you're taking K-State. I'm taking K-State. I think Gabe's taking K-State. We're all taking K-State. That means Iowa State.
That probably means they'll lose. Yeah,
exactly. See you next week.
All right. See you later.
Zach Ewing, everybody. We're going to have fun this year on Fridays. I'm telling you, Friday is going to be a fun show. It's going to be a lot of pick 'em, a lot of preview. Look, even if the Saints stink, who cares? I mean, well, of course we care, but you know what I mean. We're still going to have fun shows on Fridays, even. And look, if the Saints win, lanyard, baby. We're all fun here on the Dattitude podcast. All right, a couple comments that we didn't get to real quick before we get to Gabe. Oh, you were talking about Seattle. Who dat, daddy? How do we not? What do you mean, how do we not know? Again, I'm going to go to this, and it's not the end-all, be-all, okay? But I'm going to go to I'm always going to lean towards Vegas, okay? Vegas is right way more than any of us are right. They're way more right than they're wrong. They're just right more times than they're not. And Vegas is telling us that if the Seahawks right now, I think it was 6.5, okay? So that means that on a neutral field, the Seahawks would be 4.5 points better than the Saints. 4 at the least. And what does that mean in the ground? If you don't really understand point spreads and you don't pay attention to gamble lines, what does that mean? Because I do. And they do mean something. And again, they're right way more than they're wrong. What does that mean? That the Seahawks are 4 points better than the Saints on a neutral field. That's a lot. That is you're talking about power points and how you rank teams. The most you'll ever see on a neutral field is somewhere around, 10, and that's super rare. But if a team is a touchdown favorite on a neutral field, like Buffalo is a 12-point favorite over the Saints right now. If they played on a neutral field, that means they'd be about a 10-point favorite over the Saints. That means they're 10 points better than the Saints. That is like the most you hardly ever see. Okay? So 4 points is significant. Anything over a field goal on a neutral site means that team is significantly better than the other in the eyes of an odds maker. Okay. We're being realistic on the show. I know and I see the numbers dropping. People don't want to hear that. Okay. This is not a fanboy podcast. I don't tell you what you want to hear. I tell you what I think is real. I tell you the way that I see things. Okay. Sometimes it's reality. Sometimes you don't think it's reality. I would love pie in the sky. I would love to think that everything is right with the world. Just telling you what you're probably getting yourself into this year. And neither the quarterback situation, if Rattler starts, great. Maybe my numbers have changed. And I said, what did I say after the second preseason game the other day? I actually said it after the first preseason game and then reiterated it on Monday. So there was an 80% chance that Chuck would start the season as quarterback and a 20% chance that Rattler would start the season. Has my opinion changed? Maybe a little bit. I do think it's leaning towards everything feels like it's leaning towards Rattler, right? I'm not convinced. Maybe he's given Rattler a chance. Zach said maybe he's given Shuck a chance to win the job by doing XYZ. Rattlers look better in practice. So say the writers. I've said this, there's an inherent bias. If you just read copy, and I'm not going to call it any names, okay? I've read a lot of copy this week. Our own guys have done it multiple times. There's no question in my mind. I sat in a press box last week. There's no doubt in my mind the vast majority of the people who cover this team want Spencer Rattler to win the job. They can't tell you they don't care. They're full of malarkey, okay? That's putting it nicely. I'm telling you, I've been around, sat in the press box the other day, listened to them talk, watched how they act, what they said, how they write things, how they tweet things, read through the lines. So if someone who is rooting for someone to win, okay, just like a Saints fan in general, if you're a Saints fan in general, more times than not, you're going to think that your team is better than they really are, okay? And just like when it's the old adage of, they aren't as bad as you think they are, and they aren't as good as you think they are. Well, right now, the season hasn't started, so most people have this super rosy outlook and think that this team is better than it really is. It's the same when you're quarterback choice, you think that they're better than they really are. You think, if you're a Spencer Rattler fan, you think Spencer Rattler is better than he really is, most likely. If you're rooting for Tyler Shuck, then you probably have seen things on Tyler Shuck that's not really there. Okay. The point is that neither one of these guys, unless everyone's wrong, unless all the quote unquote experts are wrong, neither one of these guys is going to lead this team to the promised land, at least not anytime soon. But in reality, okay, what makes sense? What is common sense? It's what I've been saying from the beginning. If Spencer Rattler were to start the season, would be named the QB1. My opinion is, and it's my opinion, what is it worth? It's worth as much as you pay to watch this show. Okay? But my opinion is, if Spencer Rattler were to start the season as QB1, this team's not going anywhere. No one realistically thinks they're going anywhere. It means that he doesn't want to throw Tyler Shuck to the Wolves in those first 4 games when I think there's at least a 50% chance that the Saints are going for 0-4. Gabe, do me a favor real quick before I have you on, if you could. I want you, and I've asked you to do this once before, but I don't remember what the number was. Give me if you parlayed the Saints to lose, like the money line against them. If you bet against the Saints, parlay into all 4 of them, tell me what that number is. And then we can give you kind of an implied odds on what they are. And again, a lot of you, the odds makers, screw the odds makers. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Vegas makes money for a reason. They make more money than most corporations make. Okay? Let me get to this real quick because I got a couple comments. This show's going to be long today. It is what it is. It's the last one before we start getting into real football. I get it. I kind of knew today would be long. We told you earlier we would let you know more about how Evangeline Securities can help you figure out what your family run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it? Oh, thank you so much for asking. After their complimentary evaluation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelton, the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. They'll also maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities is the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. Go ahead, try to find one. Dare you. There's none with their dedication and success. They're fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. You know what's really important. It ain't none of this junk. What's really important? The rest of your life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. Well, we knew he was going to chime in. Mark Satanovich is here. Everyone, he says, this is I'm probably an editor more than I'm a writer. My inside here, when you got editor, podcaster, broadcaster, and writer, editor is probably number one. With the old dreaded everyone. That made me drink a sip of water. Everyone. And I mean, Joe Blow living in Finland is excited about this. I'm talking about, everybody. I mean, Santa Claus is excited. Everyone is very excited about Spencer Rattler as QB1 to start the regular season. I don't even know if Spencer Rattler's mama's excited. The only people who are going to be quote unquote excited are the people who have been, I still don't get it. I don't get the innate, and maybe it's just the anti-Derek Carr thing. That's got to be what it is. If you're just outwardly, actively rooting for Spencer Rattler, the only reason is, I think it's got to be just the anti-Derek Carr thing. You can't possibly think he gives this team a better chance to win. Neither one of them do, really. I mean, I think Chuck's a star because I think this team needs to know what they have. It'll start at some point. Maybe they save him for week 5. I don't know. Who that daddy? We won't stink, Jim Derry. I hope you're right. It's much more fun to cover a team that doesn't stink. Much more fun. Gerard Simino, another great show. Thank you so much. We're not done yet. We still got probably 20 minutes left. Daryl Hayden, Seattle -7. I think it's either 6.5 or 7, somewhere around like that. And by the way, I'm not going to show you a comment, who that daddy, but you're right about opinions. But that's what this show is about. That's pretty much what most podcasts are about. Elijah Gray. I'm curious. I need to see Rattler with the first team. If I could see him with all the starters, then I will have my answer about Rattler. You pretty much have. He started game 1. I think pretty much all the starters were in there. Were they not? But whatever. I just want to know, and somebody asked it earlier, and here again, which one is better? I don't think either one of them are better. Just don't. Okay. The what and what. But the Rattler lovers are certainly more passionate about this decision than those who are rooting for Shuck. There's zero question that's true. If Spencer Rattler starts game 1, if with the first team offense and there's no major injuries, please tell me you're not going to make any more excuses. That's all I want to hear. Okay. If he starts game 1 and he stinks for 4 weeks, I don't want to hear if they're 0-4. I don't want to hear excuses made. They played this team and they played this team and this team's 3-1 and that team. I don't want to hear that. Just please, for the love of all that is right in this world, stop making excuses for him if he stinks. And if he's good, I'll tell you I was wrong. Can we at least make that deal? Come on, man. Who dat records? Who dat? It's me, president of the Jake Haener fan club. You are not the president, my friend. You are the sole member. Good for you. I didn't know there was such a thing, but now you know. If you want to give me your information, I'll pass it out here on Dat, and people can join the Jake Haener fan club. Who knows? Maybe Jake Haener's mama might want to join. Probably not. I don't Last comment before we get to Gabe, because we're going to talk. I want to talk to Gabe about. We got to get to my predictions for this week. If you'd missed them, NFC North, AFC North. I didn't make slides for him. We're going to talk to him about it. And then real quickly, college football week 0, what he thinks. And then I'm going to close the show talking about the Saints. So don't go anywhere. We still got 15, 20 minutes left. It is a longer show than usual. It is Friday. I had more to say today. And Zach and I went long. Brian Cabot says, let me also say if Shuck starts, it still puts me to sleep. This team is in dire straits. Aren't they a band? And then that trade. Which one? I thought the trade was I thought both trades were fine trades. Were they great trades? No. Were they necessary trades? I thought they were. But again, my opinion is worth as much as it costs to watch this show. So take that for what it's worth. Gabe Henderson, are you paying for my opinions?
No. Unfortunately, sure? I get them for free.
Unfortunately, well, if you want to pay for them, you can pay, my friend.
That was a layup.
By the way,
it's disgusting.
You can spin it. It's SEC. It's Texas A&M.
Is that the A&M Cup that they sold for 6 years after they beat LSU in 7 overtimes? Wrong.
This is from the last time I went to A&M, which was probably
one too many times.
When was Johnny Football? It was Johnny Football.
2012, 2013.
Okay, so whatever year that Johnny Football was playing against LSU.
They played home. Well, that would have been 2012 because in 2013 they played at Death Valley.
Okay, well there you go.
That game was miserable.
Yeah, well, anyway.
It was cold, it was rainy, but that defense beat up on Johnny.
That's the last time I went to College Station. I've been to College Station multiple times, and I'm not a fan. Let's just say I'm not a fan. And the whole stuff and all that crap, it drives me. That drives me insane.
Showmanship.
That's just stupid. All right. Anyway, what you got before we get into it?
I have a few things for you before we
get
to answer your question from earlier about what the odds are. The implied probability is 35.21 that the Saints will start 0-4.
Okay, so what can you get on a parlay if you bet against the Saints all 4 games? What is that, like plus one?
A $10 parlay. It's plus 184.
Okay.
$10 parlay gets you 1840.
That might be worth writing up so I can just piss everybody off. Who that daddy says hello. One Smoke says his favorite part of the show. Guy Gabe. All right.
I appreciate that.
There was something I wanted to
tuning out right now. Not going to name names.
Just one person?
Maybe it could be more.
Daryl Hayden wants to know, when is the earliest you would take a quarterback in a 10-team fantasy draft PPR league? Thanks in advance.
I like to wait on my quarterbacks.
So do I. I
would say maybe it just, I mean, it depends on your league. It depends on when quarterback runs start.
Yep.
But I would say 10th round.
Maybe. All right. And last question before we get to the NFC North and AFC North. And again, I'm going to wrap up this show with Saints, so don't go anywhere. We got to talk about CFB week 0. I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Zach Henderson as Zach Ewing as an outsider. Gabe Henderson, as a Houston Texans fan, I'm putting the over under on both Shuck and Rattler. The minimum that they both each get a chance to start. Each will start minimum over under 5.5. Are you taking the over or the under? I know it's a tough question. Everybody's having.
It is tough because so where I'm at, I've maintained this stance for weeks, right? You know my stance. I've always said that I believe Rattler is going to start the season. I've always thought he was going to start the first 4 games, and I still think that's true. I think Rattler will start the first 4 games of the season. My question is, and this is a question to myself that I'm debating.
Right, you're out loud. Yep.
Is Tyler Shuck going to be bad enough to where the Saints will go back to Rattler late in the season potentially? Or with you know what? I'm going to take the over just because of Tyler Shuck's injury history. I don't think it has to do anything with his ability. I'm saying purely because of his injury history, I think it's over.
See, that's what you need to factor in as well, because I also will take the over.
Yeah.
I think they're both going to start, and so that means I think they're both going to start at least 6 games this year. I've kind of been saying that, and I also said, and I will say this again, not to piss anybody off, but and I don't really want to open a can of worms, but I'm going to open it anyway. Going back to what I was talking about early in the show when Zach first came on, I still say both Tyler Shuck and Spencer Rattler will start more games this year than Shedeur Sanders starts this year.
That's where you lose me. That's where you lose me.
I know what
because
you
I think. I mean,
I know you think they're going to suck so bad. They're just going to say, I think they're going to suck bad, but I think it's going to be Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's going to be quarterback too, and that's who. Yeah, I think. Look, you're talking about a dysfunctional franchise that traded away. What did they trade for Deshaun Watson?
3 firsts.
I'm not saying they should do it. I'm just telling you what they're going to do.
Yeah, and this is a great segue into our divisional previews. We both think the Browns are going to be terrible. I just think
terrible.
Bad. Yeah, I think they're going to be so bad that it's not worth starting Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett isn't the future of that franchise.
You're talking logic. Stop talking about logic. Stop using logic. Doesn't make any sense. You're talking about the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I mean, look. All right, so let's segue into, and again, I didn't have time to make slides. Usually I've been making slides for these, but so I did. Again, for those of you new to the show or you haven't heard me say this before, we've been doing this every Friday, 3rd Friday in a row. So each week, Monday through Thursday, although I was a little behind, so my last one ran this morning. But I've been doing NFL previews as shorts, 3-minute shorts or less, which means they're all like right at 3 minutes, pretty much. And I go through each team, and then I make my prediction over or under whatever their win total is at DraftKings, okay? And so we'll start with the AFC North, and I want to spend a ton of time on them, but tell me the ones that you don't agree with, okay? We got Ravens. I picked the over 11.5. I just can't pick against Lamar Jackson. I've done it before. I've been burned. The Ravens are that damn good. They could be the best team in the AFC. I'm not saying they are. I still think the Bills are the best team in the AFC. However, the Ravens could be the best team in the AFC. And what I saw from Lamar last year in the playoffs made me kind of take back a little bit what I was saying about maybe him not being able to win the big game. So anyway, I'm not there yet. But I do think the Ravens are over 11.5. I think the Bengals are much better, and I get their defense is in disarray right now. They're having issues with Trey Hendrickson, but I believe in Joe Burrow. I'm taking the over 9.5. I'm taking the Steelers over 8.5 because I'm not betting against Mike Tomlin. He just keeps doing it. 23 straight years they have not had a losing season. I'm taking over 8.5. And then Browns, I think they're like a 1 or a 2 win team. I think they're a major disaster. And I'm taking Browns under 5.5. Which of those do you not agree with?
Which one do you think I don't agree with? So I don't agree with one of them.
Only one. Okay.
Only one.
I'm almost positive you agree with me on Ravens and Browns. Am I right there?
Okay. You are correct.
So I would be torn here, and I don't think you want to bet against the Steelers because of the trends. So if I have to guess, I'm going to pick that you don't agree with me on Bengals.
I agree with you on the Bengals.
Okay, so it's the Steelers. Look.
I'm a trends guy through and through.
I would probably take the under if I was okay with betting against Tomlin. I'm
okay with it.
I think Aaron Rodgers is a train wreck, and he's going to drive that team into the ground. But I can't do it. I can't take the under.
I do not see how that offense is going to produce anything.
Yeah, they don't have a running back worth jack.
They don't have a running game.
They're like Dallas. They're like Dallas's run game from last year, except nobody can run even Aaron Rodgers.
Except, I don't think Warren will get to 1,000 yards like Deuce Vaughn did, or not Deuce.
Oh no, he's definitely not going to get down to 1,000 yards.
You think he'll get to 1,000?
No.
Okay.
If anything, I can't remember what his name is. The 3rd round pick. He actually is doing okay in preseason. I don't know. I can't remember what his name is, but anyway, I could see that. And if I would say if there was one pick that I would say, okay, you're going to be right on 3 and wrong on 1, I would say it'd be the Steelers is the one I'm least confident about. So anyway,
yeah, I don't see this team getting to 9 wins, and I know Mike Tomlin has made a career of it, but I think Aaron Rodgers is just toxic, and I just don't like it.
I agree 100%.
They have. I don't like this pick, but it's what I'm going with.
I got some comments in there. I'm going to get to you. If you put a comment in there, especially if it's about the Saints, there are a couple that I definitely want to get to coming up in just about 5 minutes. So stick around. I'm going to get to that. All right. So here we are now. At this point, we have not done the NFC North yet, but so we have only disagreed on 7 out of 20, which is, I mean, that's actually cool. I didn't necessarily
show Who Dat Daddy's comment real quick.
Okay, let's see what we got. Who Dat Daddy says Rodgers isn't only a train wreck, he's a plane crash. Man, there's another thing.
And here's the thing. Just to add one more thing on Pittsburgh.
Remember when people were talking about him potentially a Saints quarterback? I'm like, you crazy. Screw him. I don't care that he doesn't want to come here. We don't want him here.
Yeah, I think Pittsburgh is going to struggle as a result of the division being really tough. But can you imagine if Aaron Rodgers gets hurt? Can you imagine if the 41-year-old quarterback gets hurt, or 42, however old he is? If he gets hurt and they have to trot out Mason Rudolph
again,
nothing on offense. They've got DK Metcalf, who I think I actually had a problem. You called him one of the best receivers in the NFL in your preview, and I think that's a little much.
He's up there, in my opinion. He's definitely top 10.
I think he's a board. You said he's definitely top 10?
I think he's definitely top 10. As far as a receiver.
Insane.
His numbers,
insane.
I don't know.
I think he's borderline top 25.
Oh, I think you're crazy.
He's like Chris Olave, borderline top 25.
Don't get me started on that. All right, I want to move on because I do want to get to the NFC North, and I don't know where you're going to be here. I'm gonna stay again. I don't have a slide for him. I'm just going to read them to you. I got Bears under 8.5. I don't like the Bears schedule in A. I don't think Ben Johnson's. Maybe he'll make a difference, but not that big of a difference. And I'm sorry, not believing in Caleb Williams. Prove me wrong. Go ahead. Prove me wrong, and I'm just not sold on the Bears. By the way, the Bears fans found me. They did not like my Bears.
No,
pick.
I think you're very hard on Caleb Williams.
Okay, because he's not that good. He's
he's going to be good. He's fine.
He's never going to be good. If he's lucky, he'll be average. But that's a whole different story.
He's already average.
No, he's not. He's not average. Okay. He's not average. I can absolutely 100% pick 16 quarterbacks in the NFL that are better than Caleb Williams right now. No questions asked.
Yeah,
would be easy to
the
do
number
with a whole
16 spot isn't reserved for the average. I mean, you got to give a little leeway. I consider
probably pick 20.
12 through 20. You can't pick 20 quarterbacks.
I bet you I can. That's a whole different show. All right. I got Bears under 8.5. I did not want to pick the Lions over 10.5, but I looked at their schedule and I had to. And I still think, look, they're still pretty damn good. I think they're going to suffer a little bit with 2 new coordinators. And you know what I think about their ridiculously horrendous game coach and Dan Campbell. We can disagree all day long, but I don't see how they don't get to at least 11 wins. Their schedule, you can go watch the short. I got Packers over 9.5. Look, I'm a Jordan Love fan, but I'm a Matt LaFleur fan. I don't see how they don't win 10 games. And Vikings, I think they're under 9.5. And I explained this in the short this morning that, you know, the last time that they won 13 games, 3 seasons ago, and then they went 7 and 10, won 14 games. I think they did with smoke and mirrors. I am not on the J.J. McCarthy hype train. I love their offensive weapons, but I think they have issues, and I don't like their schedule either. And they got to spend 2 weeks in Europe, which I think is going to mess them up. They got a bye week early, and I don't like their second half of their schedule. I think the Vikings, not only do I not think they have double-digit wins, but I think they might have a losing record this year. So anyway, of those 4, which do you not agree with?
So I'll preface my picks with this. I would disagree with your Minnesota take. However, I think their injuries and suspensions are going to get to them, with Jordan Addison being suspended, with some of their other guys getting injured. I don't think they're going to have enough throughout the season consistently to get to those 10 wins, but that's why I agree with you. And we disagree on one in this division, and it's which one are you least confident on, Jim?
I am least confident about the Lions,
and that's the one we disagree on.
I just don't like the Lions this year, and I
think they go. I think they go under 10.5 wins.
Their schedule is, in fact, I'm gonna real quickly because I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Pull it up.
I'm gonna pull it up real quick. Live TV. It starts off at Green Bay versus Chicago, but they play at Baltimore. All their toughest games are kind of on the road. They play at Cincinnati, at Kansas City, and then they play Tampa Bay. Then they get their bye week. And here's what I don't like. They play Minnesota at Washington, at Philly. Then later on, they play Green Bay, Dallas, at Rams. Okay, whatever. Versus the Steelers at Minnesota on Christmas. And again, I was on the fence on this one, and it's definitely not one I'm betting. I'm not betting.
No, neither am I, but I'm on the fence as well. I think those tough games being on the road is a huge part in this, but I have a hard time believing that the consistency is going to be there. They've been one of the most consistent regular season teams in football over the last few years, but that's because they haven't changed any coaches. But now you lose both coordinators at once. And I mean, I know you don't like Dan Campbell. So what's he going to look like?
Terrible.
I mean, hell, look at LSU after 2019.
100%.
And they lost Aranda and Brady. And I know Brady wasn't the OC. It was Steve Ensminger, but we know we know who was pulling the strings there.
Yeah, I agree.
If you look at that team, they severely regressed going into 2020. And I don't think we're going to see that. But.
We agree on 16 of 24, which means no matter what happens next week, at the bare worst, we will agree on at least half the picks. If you disagree with all 8 of my picks next week, which I know you're not going to, because I know one that we're for sure that we're going to agree on. I'm not giving any spoiler alerts. But if you disagree with all my picks next week, we would still be at 50%. All right. Anyway, a couple comments before we move on. Apathy says Derek Carr is better than Caleb Williams.
He's not. Derek Carr cannot throw a football this year.
Well, right.
Right now.
As of right now, you're correct because one's not going to play football. But
exactly.
Before the Giants game last year, 100% Derek Carr is better than Caleb Williams. That's a whole different story.
That's because Caleb
record says. Speaking of the Bears, he says, "Screw the Bears." He hates their defensive coordinator.
I actually like the Bears this year.
Dennis Allen.
Much like the Giants, I think their schedule is too tough to really show that passion. But I think as a team, they really will grow. And I think the Bears are going to be a decent team.
That team. They're the Bears. Bears gonna bear. And Apathy also, you know what? I don't disagree with you. I think a very, very strong possibility. This might be the comment of the day.
Do you know how long it's been since he's won a playoff game?
It's been a while.
He hasn't won one in 8 years.
I got a lot of grief from people who hate the Steelers, giving me grief about saying I love Mike Tomlin because I really do.
He's awesome. He's a fantastic. Okay, I think Mike Tomlin is kind of like Brian Daboll in the sense that he's been so good with the mediocre talent that he's had. They haven't felt the need to change things completely.
Yeah,
but he hasn't had a quarterback. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback they've had since Ben Roethlisberger.
And he sucks. He's 41 and he needs as I said in the show.
Yeah.
And in the short, go to pasture already. Get off my TV screen. I'm tired of looking at you. Go do yoga, whatever the hell. Namaste somewhere.
No. Here's my fear.
Get the hell out of here.
Here's my fear. He's going to start a podcast and it's going to be everywhere.
Well, that's fine. I don't have to watch it.
I just don't need that. No, but you're going to get the ESPNs.
Taylor Swift is everywhere, but I don't have to watch it.
Retweeting it.
Whatever. All right. Before I let you go, I know you're excited about week 0.
Very.
I've been writing a lot about week 0, I'm sure. If you want to read Gabe's stuff, Gabe's predictions, Gabe's picks, you can go over to sportsbookreview.com and check them out. Kansas State, Iowa State, we're all on Kansas State. I actually think Kansas State wipes the floor with the Cyclones.
So
I know the Cyclones have their quarterback back.
If you want an interesting read, in week 0, there are 5 FBS games. So what I did this week is I took a deep dive and looked at all the trends for all of these games. So if you want to know how to bet these games, I've got some trends to help you out. And then I made my own picks. I have Kansas State covering this game, but here's a few quick trends. Let me rattle these off. Iowa State has won 4 of the last 5 meetings with Kansas State outright.
But never in Dublin.
Iowa State was 8-6, and Kansas State was 4-9 against the spread last season. Iowa State has excelled in the underdog spot. They are underdogs in this game, going 5-1 against the spread over its last 6 under Matt Campbell.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Kansas State was 1-6 against the spread away from home last year. And then probably the most pertinent one, because you just brought this up, underdogs are 2-1 straight up, not against the spread, straight up in the last 3 seasons they've opened the season in Dublin.
That's not a large sample size, sir.
No, it's not, but it's what we've had in Dublin. We had,
right.
I believe, Northwestern beat Nebraska, and then Georgia Tech beat Florida State.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this week,
but I still like Kansas State. I think Avery Johnson is a dark horse.
Avery Johnson. Yes. Now he's not the real. There's only one Avery Johnson, and he pronounces it Avery Johnson. I'm saying Augusta.
I think he's a dark horse Heisman candidate. Zach,
I agree.
Right.
Actually,
I think Kansas State is going to win the Big 12. I think it'll be them and Texas Tech that come out of that conference. So,
I don't disagree with you about Kansas State being but they gotta start fast. You can't lose to Iowa State. You can't. It's not like LSU who can afford to lose to Clemson. By the way, we'll be talking about that next week. LSU and Clemson. That'll be definitely being next week's topics of conversation for sure. In fact, we might get into it as early as Monday. We'll see. We'll probably be talking about who, because I would imagine there's a decent chance by Monday we might even know who QB1 is for sure.
Devaughn Vele might have 500 receiving yards before.
Don't get me started. I mean, these.
Let me ask you. Let me close with this. Okay. Over under 499.5 receiving yards for Vele this season.
Well, that's tough.
It's not tough.
I'm going to say under because his quarterback is nowhere. And look, you know what I think about Bo Nix.
Yes.
But the starting quarterback for the Saints is nowhere near as good as Bo Nix.
I think it's comfortably under.
I don't think it's comfortably under. I think he's gonna play a big role in this team. I really do.
As a 4th receiver?
Yeah, I do. I mean, played a big role on Denver's team as a 3rd or 4th receiver. I don't mean wide receiver 3.
Yeah, that's because they don't have.
The argument is he a wide receiver 3 or a wide receiver? To me, once you get past 2, who gives a shit? I mean, they're all the same. Who cares?
Here's why I disagree with you.
How long is Bob Means going to be out? That's also another question you have to ask, because Bob Means is probably going to come play a role. I do, because I think Bob Means steal time from him.
So the reason I think it's different is because, unlike Denver, who only has a wide receiver 1 and then it's a crapshoot after that, the Saints have an established first 3 wide receivers, and I think their first 2 wide receivers are very good.
Yeah, but all right. Over under on how many games Brandon Cooks misses this year due to injury? Got to be 6.5.
I'll say under. I think he misses 4.
I think he misses more, because when the Saints are 2-8, Brandon Cooks ain't gonna give one rat's ass about being on that field.
I disagree with that. He had multiple 1,000-yard seasons for the tanking Texans.
I just don't. I
do think he.
And by the way, who that did to you? No, Brian Cabot. By the way, I didn't realize that Bub Means was out for the season. He was out for the season, so there you go. That gives Vele a even bigger chance. But anyway,
sure. I think it's just to touch on it quickly. I think it's a nothing trade. I think the Saints should not have done it, because I know what you're saying. So this is how I view 4th round picks. I know you went and looked at how many of them pan out and stuff like that. So here's the thing. As a fan of a team whose GM loves to trade picks, if you get that compensatory 4th, you would then be looking at 2 4th round picks for the Saints. And that holds value when you're trying to trade up, especially picks that could or be.
I mean, look, I like this year's 4th round pick, Danny Stutzman, but I mean, most of the time it's 4th round picks. You like them, and then you forget about them.
I know, I agree, and I agree with you there. But I'm looking at these as trade assets. If you're looking at 2 4th rounders, whether you're trading for players or you're trading for other picks to move up.
Yeah.
I just think right now you have no need for a 27-year-old wide receiver 4.
There you go with it. You just don't like when people play, like you were all over Shuck last year because he was a 26-year-old rookie. What's he still doing in college?
Yeah, he's 20.
say that.
He's my age. Why is he now a rookie? He's got limited shelf life.
Oh man!
And here's the thing:
just harsh on that.
Is Vele really that much better than Donovan Peoples-Jones?
No.
Exactly. So why don't you hold on to Peoples-Jones, keep the draft picks, and go about your losing season? That sounds harsh, but
Go about your losing season. Who that daddy might be right. Danny Stutzman is Bobby Boucher.
I like Danny Stutzman.
Oh, I get the quarterback. I said the quarterback. I think you might be right.
Yeah, I just think it's a nothing trade. I don't think the Saints should have done.
And
it. By the way,
I hate this. I've said this earlier, and I'm gonna repeat myself in case you weren't here earlier. I always say teams are not smarter than a fifth grader. That's true. But Peyton is smarter than Loomis on this one. Why? Why is Peyton smarter than Loomis? Peyton, the guy would have played for the Broncos had he. That's it. They just made the trade because they have a plethora of mediocre wide receivers, and that's what this guy is. He's a mediocre wide receiver. He just has physical skills or physical qualities, I should say, that the Saints need.
I will say, after that Brian Robinson trade, the semantics of this trade, I know it's apples to oranges, but the semantics, it does not look good. They got Brian Robinson, who, by the way, would be the best running back on the Saints roster.
Excuse me?
6th-round pick. He'd be the best running back on the Saints roster.
I don't know if we decided that I know we had talked about this in the beginning of the season of drug testing to be on this show. But if Brian Robinson, if we were drug testing, you would absolutely fail right now for that comment. You can't.
If they both started for the Saints,
Brian Robinson is better than Alvin Kamara.
I think he will have a better year than Alvin. Well, okay, no, hold on. Let me pause that thought because now he's a backup running back. If they both got equal opportunities, I think Brian Robinson would have more rushing yards than Alvin Kamara.
With that, I'm going to end our week together at Gabe Henderson. You know what? I got to be honest. Most of the time, I tell my kids, you say a lot of stupid shit. You don't really say a lot of stupid shit. That's stupid shit. I can't believe you just said that on the air.
Brian Robinson would have had a better year than Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is over the hump. He's still going to be good, but he's not going to be. Brian Robinson can be a bell cow. Alvin Kamara cannot be that. You're talking about running back twos that are so important. You could have used that 4th-round pick to get Brian Robinson, and I think he would have been better for this football team.
I'm going to cut this out and play it back to you later.
That's fine. I mean, it won't really matter because Brian Robinson's going to have limited opportunities this year behind Christian McCaffrey. So
he's already making his excuses, and he just made the dumbest comment of the week.
Context.
He made the dumbest comment.
Dumb? He would be more useful for this football team.
I'm going to tell you to have a great weekend, Gabe.
Okay.
We'll be back. I will see you on Mono E Monday, and don't make me get pissy. See, I thought I was going to be pissy all day, and I ended up being in a pretty good mood. It was a pretty good show. Yeah. Daryl wants to know, what are you doing in his legal medicine jar? That's what he wants to know.
Brian Robinson has a chance to get to 1,000 yards in a season in his career. I'll put it that way.
And I have a chance to lose 50 pounds by the end of the season. Probably not going to happen, but who knows? Anything's possible. See you Monday. Maybe I'll lose 4 pounds over the weekend. I'll let you know my ask me my results on Monday.
If you keep listening to my takes, you might lose a few brain cells as well.
You ain't kidding. I think I've already lost a couple. All right. Have a great weekend.
You too.
All right. Time to begin to wrap up this show. Who that daddy said he needed a chuckle. Daryl, what is in that legal medicine jar of yours? Northern Saint says, Vele. I'm sorry I was pronouncing it wrong earlier. It's not a Vele. It's Vele. Vele. That sounds like what you do when you bring your car to the casino. You Vele it. Or something you do to a pork chop. I'm going to Vele this pork chop. Vele and Fortner fill 2 needs we didn't have last year and this year. A competent backup C and a tall wide receiver who can catch the ball over the middle. And that is true. And with that is worth a 4th-round pick, in my opinion. You know what this show is worth? This show is worth a thumbs up and a like. A thumbs up and a like. And see, I got the wrong damn day. I can't even use our next show is not Friday, August 25th. It's Monday, August 25th. I'm telling you, if y'all knew what kind of morning, if y'all had a clue on what kind of morning I had this morning, it was a rough one. That's why I did not expect. I thought I was going to be pissy all morning, but no, it ended up being good. Daryl Hayden says pretty flowers are in his legal medicine jar. I bet. Northern Saint says the secret's to losing weight, weigh yourself every day and make good choices for snack. You see, Northern Saint, that's easy to say when you obviously live in the North. I, however, live in Southern Louisiana. Good choices for snacks. Sure, I can make good choices. But you start thinking about when you're my age, you're like, of course, I want to lose weight. I don't want to be a big fat pig. Of course I don't. But I enjoy the hell out of eating the food that I grew up with in my favorite city on planet Earth. It's hard to just say, I'm going to change my snack habits. No, damn it. I want boudin. I want hogshead cheese. I want pork rinds. I want to eat a hot sausage po' boy for lunch. Now, I don't always do it. I have lost weight since the beginning of the year. Am I keeping to my New Year's promise of losing a pound a week for 52 weeks? Going to be hard. But I could still do it. Let's just say I'll go ahead and shame myself. From the start of the year, I am 15 pounds lighter than I was on January 1st. However, that's going to make it hard to, am I going to be able to lose, quick math here? What is that? 37 pounds before the end of the year? Probably not. Daryl says boudin, balls, crab claws, and pork rinds, Popeyes. All of those things. Those are all fantastic things to eat. Northern Saint is close to 400 pounds. Today's weighs 240. Sounds like UBN, Uncle Big Nick. He did it. I don't know. Every time I go on a diet, it's just like, and not only that, man, when you work as much as I do, I'm not making excuses because I should be less. I shouldn't weigh as much as I do. But when you weigh as much as I do, sometimes you just go grab whatever the hell's in there. Sometimes what I grab is just not good for me. You know what is good for me? Ending this show because we're almost to the 2-hour mark. And I swore off that we would not have 2-hour shows anymore. Last two comments of the day. Who dat daddy? Love you, man. Thank you for being a part of the Dattitude family. I want you all to be a part of the Dattitude family. You know how to do it. Go find us on YouTube. Who dat daddy says, me too, and it's football season. Ain't losing no weight with all the stuff he eats when the games are on. That's another thing. When you're home watching football and you have worked your ass off all week, you've kind of earned the right to eat whatever the hell you want. Just saying. Barry says it's tough trying to lose another 10. It's tough losing the first 7. Can't imagine losing 50 plus. Look, I've done it. I've done it as recently as like 3 years ago. I did it. Not 50. I think I lost 40. And fine. If I got down to, if I lost 20 more pounds, don't get me wrong, I would be nowhere near what I'm supposed to be, but I would look a lot different than I look right now. And I would feel a lot different. So I probably can at least do that. It's just not easy. Darryl says when he went to UNO, he lived 67, not 69 or 71 or 58. 67 steps from Popeyes on Clearview. That would probably be bad for me. Anyway, we're going to end this show, and I'm going to break my rule because by the time the music stops playing, it will be over 2 hours. But I will remind you anyway, one last time, to subscribe to the Dattitude podcast. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to just listen and not see my fat face, you can listen wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And you can always find a replay of the show, always on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.NOLA.com. You can find our Saints Insiders on Excuse me. No, NOLA.com/sports. I don't know what the hell I'm thinking. It's late. You can find Gabe Henderson on sportsbookreview.com. Speaking of Gabe Henderson, I want to thank him. I want to thank Zach Ewing. This is what our Friday show is going to look like. Just in 2 weeks from now, we're going to add in UBN, and we're going to try to squeeze it all in an hour and a half. I don't know how the hell we're going to do it, but we're going to try. We're going to have a lot of stuff fun on Fridays going forward. It'd be Fun Fridays. That's what we're going to call it, Fun Fridays. Starts next week with the birthday edition. Again, happy heavenly birthday to Jim Derry Sr. We miss you, Dad. You'd be 83 today. Thinking about you every day. We miss you, and we will miss you, but we want you to have a great, wonderful, glorious, fantastic weekend, and we will see you on Monday. Saints Broncos tomorrow at noon. Will we know QB1 by Monday? We'll find out. Till then, take it easy, my friends.